TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no veil, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, baby, higher.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for the Breakfast Bankroll, October 10th, Thursday, 2024, with a good friend, colleague, Mr. Paul Stone. No one breaks down college football like Paul. So glad that he's back with us this week, battling a little out of fall into winter, it sounds like, with that little cough and stuff, and no fun, but I'm glad that he's been able to get back with us today. First and foremost, thoughts and prayers, obviously, to Florida. Hurricane Milton ripped through there, seeing some of the pictures on social media. Rest in peace. It looks like the Tropicana, the roof was taken off there. Scotty Webb, you checked in most of the early evening and towards midnight. Hope all is well. Send a smoke signal or something. Make sure everything is all right there. Shout out to our proud sponsor and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download that app. It's free. Viva Tequila Seltzer, CT Bets, the team, the family, second to none. Go try one. If they don't have it, ask why. And Atlanta Steak and Seafood. Head over to Facebook, follow Terry Smith, introduce yourself. While you're there, jump on over to the website, Atlanta Steak and Seafood. Use the promo code STRIP and get $25 off any box of steak this week. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. So without further ado, the star of this show, Mr. Paul Stone.
Jeff, how are we doing? Glad to be back with you this week. Sorry about the little bug that I've been battling, but I think I'm on the road to the recovery, and that's a good thing because this is a big weekend of college football, Saturday, October 12th. We've been talking about it for some time, even as early as this past spring and over the summer. Games like Texas and Oklahoma there at the State Fair of Texas in Dallas, and, of course, Ohio State traveling to Eugene to play Oregon at Alton Stadium on Saturday as well.
Shout out, good morning to Sports Run on Diesel. What up, D? The menu second to none. I can't remember a menu like this. I will be locked in the office. I'll have TVs, monitors going like NASA. It's going to be absolutely bedlam. Before we start to break down a few of those games, because I have some questions for you on some of the big games. Last week, I got a snapshot. It was kind of comical, Paul. Good friend and colleague was in downtown Nashville, and he sends me a snapshot of some goalposts walking through the main street of Nashville. Now, listen, Alabama, 3-touchdown favorite. Coming off that Georgia win. Now we know kids, we know emotion. It's real hard to get to the high And then, you got to travel to Vanderbilt, who's been that punching bag. And even Saban said it a few weeks ago. Shock is probably light, right? And your thoughts of Bama losing at Vandy last week?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's the beauty of college football. Certainly, Alabama fans don't see it that way this week, but you just never know. And sometimes these upsets just come out of nowhere. Certainly, Vanderbilt had put the SEC on notice that they were no longer a pushover. I mean, they opened the season by upsetting Virginia Tech. Go to Missouri. Missouri's got to go to overtime to defeat the Commodores 30-27. The head scratcher in there is the fact that they lost to Georgia State of the Sun Belt Conference. But, they brought in the quarterback, obviously, from New Mexico State, Diego Pavia, and he's a bulldog, a fierce competitor. And, that team's just a different ball club. Going into the Alabama-Vanderbilt game, certainly there were whispers, and maybe louder even than whispers, that Alabama's defense, especially in the back, maybe not quite championship caliber. And, Vanderbilt exposed it. And what a great victory for the Commodores. And now we'll see how Alabama responds hosting South Carolina and how Vanderbilt responds on the heels of such prosperity and notoriety going to Lexington to play Kentucky this week.
Stay in the SEC all week. Paul, if my spidey senses worked like it did on this game, I'd be at the Bellagio, the presidential suite. I'd never leave. I had a feeling about Arkansas. Not only the fact that I thought that they could cover the 2 touchdowns, they just at night is a whole different ball game in Fayetteville. In comes Tennessee, 2 touchdown favorites. We know about Nico. We know about their defense. Arkansas traded punches, and at the end, the Razorbacks not only covered, they win outright, and they knocked the Vols into the 1-loss category.
I'll tell you, this Arkansas team, Sam Pittman starting the season, and certainly even early in the season when they lose almost inexplicably in double overtime at Oklahoma State, they outgained Oklahoma State, I think, by over 200 yards, and that's still a head-scratcher. Arkansas was fortunate to win at Auburn, but they could have beat A&M, the week before they upset Tennessee this past week. That was a really evenly played game. This Arkansas team is not to be taken lightly. Sam Pittman's bunch is fighting back, and it's really, I know we always talk about offense and Taylor Green, their quarterback, who's done a great job, so forth and so on, but it's that defense. Man, they are playing top-notch defense. They are so much improved on that side of the ball. And you just look at their schedule. They're off this week, but they host LSU on Saturday, October 19th. And if Arkansas beats the Bayou Bengals there in Fayetteville, it could really be a kind of a special run down the stretch there for the Razorbacks. But the Volunteers, Tennessee, we've kind of seen their I don't want to say their limitations, but they really made easy work of outclassed opponents. And now that they've stepped up in class, they clearly hadn't taken the training wheels off yet for Nico. They're not throwing the ball downfield as they have in the past. They're going to have to just kind of let him, learn on the job and try to get the ball downfield a little bit more. But Tennessee was firmly in and they still have a chance. Obviously, they're still in thick of the conversation. Playoff conversation, because these things just change week to week. It's so fluid because we have so many unlikely and unexpected results that fall in our lap. But Tennessee, not quite as bullish, obviously, on the Volunteers at this time this week as we were, 1 week ago today. So what a victory, though, for Arkansas. Just incredible effort. And the backup quarterback comes in and does just enough to get that victory for the Hogs.
It's funny. We finally got a 12-team playoff for the first time this year. There's already rumblings that probably with what is happening this year with the upsets, that maybe next year we need to go to a 16. Before you know it, there'll be like March Madness and they'll have 64 teams in there, Paul. But the funny is now in the SEC, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, they all have 1 loss here. And couple weeks ago, we talked about how bad of a loss Notre Dame had against Northern Illinois. They got a sheet, a two-loss Notre Dame team with a loss to Northern Illinois. There's no way that they're going to get in. Well, how do we take a look at here now? Because the SEC is going to start beating up each other here. Now you got an Alabama team, a 3-touchdown favorite. If they get, upset or they lose to a couple of these tough games, how is this committee going to fathom all this?
It's going to be tough because, the SEC is a war of attrition. It's such a tough conference and like no other conference in the land. And those teams are going to be penalized probably some for the strength of schedule. Let's face it, some teams face opponents each week that really don't have a chance to beat them. And it's not that way in the Southeastern Conference. So it'll be interesting to see how the committee balances strength of schedule versus record. It's easy to, if you're a committee, especially, to talk about the record and say, well, they had the better record. And it's very subjective to try to analyze, which team is stronger when you're playing these disparate schedules. But Notre Dame with their brand, if they went out, even with the loss to Northern Illinois, as teams continue to knock one another off, I would certainly think an 11-1 Notre Dame team would be safe there. So much football to be played, though. We'll be talking some different teams and some different topics probably this time next week, because some things will happen this Saturday that were unexpected. But that's the beauty of it. It's just a constantly changing scenario and script. And man, I'm gonna take the dogs. I hear the dogs barking in the background.
You would think this is Christmas. I get more deliveries between my two daughters and wife. Amazon should just park their own wagons here. So yes, the dogs are barking. Let's go right down your neck of the woods here. The red rifle rivalry here. The undefeated, of course, #1 Texas Longhorns facing an Oklahoma Sooner team. They got punched in the mouth a few weeks ago to the Vols. Always a great game. There's some blowouts on both sides here. I'm kind of shocked at the number, Paul. 14.5, some 15s. We know Texas can score. We know they got a good defense here. What's your pulse on this game? Is the number too high, or you think it's about right?
I think it's probably about right. I mean, I'm really in a quandary on this game, Jeff. You look at it one hand from a fundamental handicapping standpoint when you just kind of assess each team's relative strengths against one another. And this Texas team, I mean, man, with the weapons they have vertically at the receiver positions with Silas Bolden, Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, just goes on and on. You would think they're going to be able to move the ball on Oklahoma. Texas is a very balanced team. They're very good defensively. Oklahoma's really not shown much passing game, and now they've gone to Michael Hawkins Jr., who's more of a runner than a passer and is somewhat, although very athletic and very talented, somewhat inexperienced. It just kind of reeks of a game that Texas might dominate. But then you look at it from the standpoint of it's such a rivalry game, and anything can happen. And Oklahoma's they're gonna put it in a different gear this week. They know they're more than a 2-touchdown underdog, or about a 2-touchdown underdog, and they're going to respond accordingly. And I remember, of course, this Texas team's better than that number 25 Texas team back in 1996. But in that year, 1996, Oklahoma started the year 0-4. First-year head coach John Blake was the coach of Oklahoma. The late John Blake, unfortunately, only probably lasted 2 or 3 years there at OU. This was his biggest victory. But OU comes in 0-4. 20.5-point underdogs. Texas ranked number 25. Oklahoma wins 30-27. So funny things can happen in these types of games. Oklahoma's had a week off, as has Texas. They might get some of their receivers back, the Sooners, because they've been really thinned out by injury at the receiving core positions. And they'll have some wrinkles too. They'll bring some different looks to Texas that the Longhorns probably hadn't seen. So yeah, 14.5 was really too much. 14 seems about like the right number. But, I hate to say with the gun to my head, because that's pretty pretty tough scenario there. Hope to never be in that position. But with a gun to my head, I would probably take the Sooners plus the points, just because it's that type of game where the unusual, the unexpected sometimes becomes the expected.
Keith Jackson would say the granddaddy of them all. Back in the day, Penn State travels to USC. I was listening to Joe Cladd earlier this week. He thinks in a few weeks, number one is going to play number two, and that's Ohio State and Penn State. In comes a Penn State team whose defense is phenomenal. They seem to – Franklin's got the team in the right spot. This USC team seems a Jekyll and Hyde. Are they the team that lost, that beats LSU, or is it the team that, gets rolled in the Michigan game? What's your feel here when Penn State traveling to USC this week?
Yeah, this is kind of a tough one as well. They're all tough to handicap, but this Penn State team, they tend to win these types of games. If they're not playing the very upper teams, the Ohio State, Michigan, James Franklin's really been proficient at taking care of business against the teams that his roster appears to be superior. USC, I think they're a good football team, a nice football team, but they're not a top 10 level team. They're better on defense, but they're really not as electric offensively as some of the Lincoln Riley offenses have been in the past. We were thinking with Caleb Williams coming out early, the eventual number one pick in the draft, Miller Moss did get an audition in the bowl game this past season and passed it with flying colors. So instead of going into the portal and looking for a quarterback, Miller Moss gets anointed as the Trojan starter. And certainly he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been outstanding either. They just don't have as many. Zachariah Branch, the return man, the wide receiver from Las Vegas, he is an electric player. He's a playmaker for the Trojans. But other than him, they really don't have any playmakers. Woody Marks, the running back from Mississippi State's a nice physical running back, but they just don't have the kind of field stretchers that they've had in the past. I look for a lower scoring game. I think the number's about right. Penn State obviously needs this victory. This would put them in really nice position to make that 12-team playoff. Probably put them in a very not a comfortable position, but a solid position, you might say. So I look for Penn State to go across the country in the new look Big Ten, where these cross-country flights are this is a conference that now stretches from sea to shining sea. So we'll see how it goes. I expect it to be close, but I expect Penn State to get the victory.
The game of the night, 7:30 p.m., Ohio State at Oregon. I am a numbers guy just like you. The opening numbers was Ohio State 4 and 51.5. That gives you that classic 27-24 feel to it. It's been bumped up to where's the total now? 53.5 at the circuit with a flat 3. My question to you is a 51 seems like a low scoring number for these two teams that we know can put points up on the board. Does that total favor anyone in your eyes? Or are we going to see the real Oregon team? Are we going to see the real Ohio State team who just seems to be getting better, Paul, week by week?
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, in my mind, you give me one team to win the national championship, and I'm picking the Buckeyes. I'm not even thinking about it. They've got a complete roster. They are outstanding, both offensively and defensively. Ryan Day had a lot of guys elect to come back to Columbus that could have opted for coming out early in this past spring's NFL draft. So they are set up. They just need that consistent quarterback play, and that's what it comes down to here Saturday night. Will Howard, the transfer quarterback from Kansas State, now at Ohio State, and then Dylan Gabriel, the transfer quarterback at Oregon, who spent last season at Oklahoma after beginning his career at Central Florida. And I think it just comes down to who plays better, probably at the quarterback position. Dylan Gabriel in his first season there in Eugene. Again, he hadn't been bad, but he hadn't been what he was probably at Oklahoma last season. He certainly hadn't exceeded expectations, just kind of been so-so. If he plays like he did, I'll say this, if he plays like he did last year, the second Saturday in October, when he was a member of the Oklahoma Sooners and led them to the come-from-behind victory over Texas. If he plays like he did last year, the second Saturday in October, I think Oregon has an excellent chance to win. I do see it as potentially a low-scoring game. I'm probably not going to play the under because Ohio State, with that plethora of weapons at the wide receiver position and in the running back room, they just kind of scare me as a team that could score some points and maybe push that thing over just by their own efforts on offense. But, I took Oregon, even though I'm talking glowingly about Ohio State's offense as a numbers guy. When it came out at 4, I said, we're probably never going to see 4 again. So nothing major, just for a medium cheese pizza. I took Oregon +4, just taking the number. And I'm not going to be surprised, though, to see a low-scoring game. I think Oregon's going to have some difficulty scoring against that Ohio State defense. And I think a low-scoring game is really the Ducks' best pathway to victory. I don't think they can get in a scoring match, a back-and-forth game with the Buckeyes.
Before we get to your selections right here, if you're not following Paul, head on over to Twitter, or X as we call it, and follow him at Paul Stone Sports. And again, check out his website at paulstonesports.org. Before we get there, I want to ask you about a game tonight and obviously a game tomorrow night. This is going to be a fun one in my eyes. Coastal Carolina, James Madison opened at 9, still 9. 59.5 now to a 61. James Madison a couple weeks ago, I think, just scored again against North Carolina, Paul. And this Coastal Carolina a few years ago came onto the scene, and they've been hanging around here. Expectations on Coastal Carolina at JMU tonight?
I didn't take a real strong look at this one, Jeff. I will say, obviously, that North Carolina game where they scored 70 points, then come back the next week and almost predictably against a really bad Ball State defense score 63. You score 133 points in 2 games. That's pretty impressive. So my inclination would probably be to maybe go with the Dukes to win by double digits here over Coastal. But again, I didn't take a huge look at it. I kind of, some games I don't, in some conferences, maybe I don't handicap as extensively as others. And, this one of those games, again, I just didn't really peel the layers back too much.
On Friday night, Utah travels to Arizona State, 3 with a 45. Was 5 last night. I was a guest on WRKO 680 with Adam Kaufman. There was a 5 at Circa. It's now back down to 4. Obviously, the assumption of Cam Rising. Is he in? Is he out? You know how tough it is to play at Arizona State. Never mind at a 10:30 at night primetime game here, standalone game. Any thoughts on Utah, Arizona State?
It's 6. I really like the Sun Devils. Kyle Whittingham, it's become just regular theater week in and week out. His playing it close to the vest about the availability of his quarterback, Cam Rising. Last year he got hurt early in the year, and he was basically week to week the remainder of the season and never played. And now he's got this thumb hand injury, and we're kind of getting the same dog and pony show from Whittingham. So it's really a guessing game whether or not Cam Rising is going to play. I always kind of take the position until you see the guy play in a game, especially when we've seen this before with Whittingham. My expectation is he's not going to play. So there's obviously a drop-off from Rising to true freshman Isaac Wilson, a considerable drop-off. So even at 5, if you want to have some action on this game Friday night, you might lean towards the Sun Devils. They've really been impressive with their young head coach, Kenny Dellingham, the running back, Skatebo. I mean, he is just a physical, just a wrecking ball of a running back. Really fun to watch him. So I would probably go again. This Big 12 is just a balanced league. There's no easy outs. To me, even though people are going to talk about the SEC and the Big 10 naturally because they're the Big 2, but to me, the Big 12 is the most entertaining, interesting conference in college football in year 2024.
We got 3 games that you want to break down today. Iowa State at West Virginia, Rutgers hosting Wisconsin, and Miami of Ohio at EMU. So the stage is yours, sir.
Yeah, I'll start with Iowa State, 3-point favorite at West Virginia. And, coming into the year, Jeff, myself and you probably as well, and many others, we talked about the depth of good teams and the incredible balance in the Big 12, and it's done nothing to disappoint to this point. To illustrate the balance in this league, in the Big 12 this week, we have 5 games. The highest point spread in those 5 games is 6 points. So the highest spread is 6 points. 2 others are 3-point spreads. You've got one at 4 points and another at 5 points. So the average spread in this league, 5 games this week, only 4.2 points. So anybody can win these 5 games. Sometimes you handicap a game, you look at the teams, and you're impressed with both. And certainly that's where I am with these 2 teams. West Virginia last week, they just dismantled Oklahoma State 38-14. They're in Stillwater, outgained the Cowboys by almost a 2.5-1 margin, 558-227. Not to take anything away from West Virginia, but maybe Oklahoma State has cashed in the 2024 season. But if you're going to give me one team to win this league, I'm going to take Iowa State. They're extremely balanced, talented on both sides of the ball. They average 33.8 points per game. Offensively, only give up 11.8 points per game. Defensively, to rank 7th nationally in scoring defense. So really good defensively. They've won 6 straight road games also dating back to last year. So they've been good on the road. And also, you think about West Virginia, this game being played at night in Morgantown. You think about West Virginia and you think, man, that's a tough place to play. And it is. I'm not doubting that or diminishing that. But West Virginia, their last 17 as a home underdog, relatively small sample size, but only 6-10-1 against the spread. I think Iowa State goes in, wins this game over West Virginia by more than a field goal. And then moving on, Rutgers hosting Wisconsin this week is a 2.5-point favorite there at home in East Piscataway. And you've got a Rutgers team coming off a hard-fought 7-point loss in Lincoln to Nebraska. And then Wisconsin had an off week. No, they didn't have an off week. They played Purdue, which is kind of like an off week. Joking. I shouldn't joke about those Boilermakers. Matt Humans will be looking for me. But they dismantled the Boilermakers 52-6. Easy victory there for Wisconsin. Rutgers, a run-heavy team. They run the ball 58% of the time. They average 5.8 yards per carry. They average 5.8 yards per carry. Actually, their top running back, Kyle Monangai, averages 5.8 yards per carry. He's already got 667 yards through 5 games. And barring injury, Monangai, it's going to be his second straight 1,000-yard rushing season. So one of the better kind of unheralded backs in the entire Big Ten. Recently, in recent years, Wisconsin's really been stingy against the run. They have annually had one of the top rush defenses in the nation, but not so much this year. They give up an average of 4.4 yards per carry. Alabama and Southern Cal both had moderate success running the ball against Wisconsin. They combined to average almost 5 yards a carry, 4.8 yards per carry to be exact. I expect Rutgers to have similar results. Wisconsin in week 3, they lost their starting quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, to injury against Alabama. Their new starter, Braden Locke, he's now started 5 games over the last 2 years, and he's not really adept in the passing game. Locke has only completed 52% of his career passing attempts, only 6.1 yards per attempt. So I'm going to take Rutgers minus 2.5 this weekend over Wisconsin. And then we're going to go to the Mid-American Conference where you have Miami of Ohio as a 2.5-point road favorite at Eastern Michigan. And this game is really interesting and unique because you've got a 1-4 team, Miami of Ohio, favored on the road against a 4-1 team, Eastern Michigan. So 1-4 on the road, favored over 4-1. As you might imagine, these teams have played very disparate schedules to this point in the season. Miami's schedule currently ranked 34th, strength of schedule-wise by Jeff Sagrin. Eastern Michigan's only 163rd. Miami's already played a pretty good slate of opponents. They played Northwestern, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and then this past week lost to Toledo. I think Toledo at this point probably the class of the MAC. So they've lost to some good people. Miami throws the ball 60% of the time, average 236 yards per game. Miami throws the ball. Eastern Michigan, not that great at defending against the pass. They rank 128th nationally in yards per attempt, allowing 9.5 yards per attempt. So I think Miami's going to be able to throw the ball a little bit. I like Miami of Ohio minus 2.5 over Eastern Michigan in the MAC.
Had you work a little overtime. Apologies for this, but I could talk to you, as you know, for hours here. The Scroller, go follow Paul at Paul Stone Sports. As we always end here, Paul, tell them about where to find your website and what you have to offer.
Yeah, they can just, if they're on X or Twitter, I try to be active there. My Twitter handle or X handle at Paul Stone Sports. And if they want to see some of the packages that I offer, take a deeper look at, what my service is all about, they can visit my site, paulstonesports.org.
The one and only Paul Stone at Paul Stone Sports. Go check out the website at paulstonesports.org. Paul, thank you so much. Enjoy the weekend of madness here in college football. Best of luck on your selections, and we'll catch you back next Thursday. How's that?
Hey, same to you, Jeff. Appreciate you having me on, and best of luck to you and all the listeners and viewers out there.
Thank you. The one and only Mr. Paul Stone. Go follow Paul at Paul Stone Sports. Check out the website at paulstonesports.org. I'm telling you, if you are a serious investor, there's where you want to go, right there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to go, I'm going to wrap things up here, give you what we're going to do the rest of the day, and I might even have a couple quick breakdowns for you before we leave. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. Won't stop, come on, take me higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. Won't stop.
TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Again, if you're just tuning in, head on over to X Paul Stone Sports. Go follow Paul, the best in the business. We enjoy having him here every Thursday as he breaks down the games second to none, his numbers, the knowledge. We're blessed and honored to have him here, of course. And go check out his website at paulstonesports.org. 3 o'clock today is Lou Finicaro. UFC is back. Last week in Utah. This week he's going to break down the fights there. And a slip up. Hey, it's tough getting old here, guys, and I apologize. 5 o'clock, Ron Marmolewski is back at Ron A Sports to break down the NFL and college. I'm going to go over a busy slate here. There will be no closing bell today, so I'm just going to go over San Fran, Seattle in the NFL. Opened at 3.5, still 3.5. It went from a 48 to 49. San Fran's team totals 26.5, minus 110 either which way. Seattle 23 juiced under. I think it's going to be a good game. Both teams are looking, to bounce back. Seattle lays the egg against the Giants at home, and San Fran loses the kicker early in the game and kind of had that game in hand. And basically, due to not having a field goal kicker, kind of got caught with their pants down, and Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals found a way not only to come back and cover, but win the game outright there. 3 games in college football, as we talked about. Coastal Carolina at James Madison, 9 with the 61. Middle Tennessee State at Louisiana Tech, currently 4 with the 49. Louisiana Tech's favored. And then at 8 o'clock, UTEP at Western Kentucky. Right now, Western Kentucky 19 and a hook with the 57 there. Looking at some team totals. If you want to scratch an itch on that Coastal Carolina James Madison game, take a look at the Coastal Carolina team total. 24 and a half juiced under minus 125. Take a look at them to go over 24 and a half. You can get that at plus 105. Nothing else there. We got 2 baseball games tonight. Cleveland, do or die here. Bibby versus the Tigers, and again, expect chaos there. The Guardians have not scored in 20 innings. Let me see if I can pull up an opening number here. Let me switch screens for you guys. Bear with me. Today's games. Opened at minus 120 overnight with a flat 7. Now minus 117. You can grab the Tigers plus 107 with a 6.5 juiced under. Team totals: Cleveland 3.5 juiced under minus 125. Detroit 2.5 juiced over minus 145. Again, they haven't scored in 20 innings. It usually just takes that one hit to kind of take the pressure off. Cy Skubal waiting for 2 days if they do lose and they have to travel back to Cleveland. As I talked with Adam on WRKO last night, if this is a big if, obviously, if the Tigers find a way to win with chaos today, Cy Skubal will be sitting, waiting, and resting for either the Yankees or the Royals, and that puts the Tigers in the catbird seat, whoever they face, because Skubal potentially could go game 1, game 4, and game 7. So if you want the hold your nose special here, take the Cleveland Guardians team total over the 3.5 and get that at plus 105. Big slate in hockey. Let me see if I can find a team total or 2 for you here before we leave. Florida team total over 3.5. You can get that at plus 115. Traveling to Ottawa there. New Jersey Devils hosting Toronto, who got shut out last night by the Canadiens 1-0. New Jersey team total played 2 games in Prague, won both of those games. 3.5, you can get that over at plus 100 there. That looks like it for hockey. All right, so we got you covered there. Again, thanks so much to Mr. Paul Stone. At 3 o'clock, Lou Finicaro, Fight Night Fortunes, will be back here to break down the UFC. And at 5 o'clock, Ron Marmoleski. Florida, stay strong. Thoughts and prayers, again, go out to everyone there. Hope everyone is okay there. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of the morning, and we'll see you back here at 3 o'clock for Fight Night Fortunes.